Hello and welcome to this edition of Piedmont Business Live. I'm your host, Ken Morrison, and today I am with Debbie Boone of Two Managed Vets, and we're going to talk about your business. So tell me, first of all, what is Two Managed Vets?
Two Managed Vets is a veterinary practice consulting business, and I started this about 6 years ago. I have 30-some years of experience managing veterinary hospitals. I am a certified veterinary practice manager. There are only about 350 of us in the United States. And this is a kind of a higher level. You have to go through a lot of process and certification. So I have a lot of skill sets in managing hospitals. I work with veterinary hospitals to help them grow their culture, to help them put in good business systems, to organize themselves, because veterinarians are extremely intelligent people. Very rarely do they have business skills. They don't learn that from school, and they come out and they either own practices or work in practices, and they have managers who a lot of times have just been trained from, I started in the kennel and I worked my way up, and so those managers don't have a lot of background either. So my job is to be their business coach.
I guess for a lot of us as customers of veterinarians, we don't really even think about the business side of what they do. All we think of is we bring our dog or cat there and you make them well and we leave. So I imagine there's quite a bit to the business side of a veterinary office.
Absolutely, absolutely, Ken. I mean, obviously, just like any small business, you've got to watch profitability. If we don't have profit, we can't be there for any of the animals. It's a challenge in veterinary medicine because we carry our heart on our sleeve. We do love animals and we want to care for those animals. But then when there are the practical aspects of it, you have to have a well-managed staff. You can't be overstaffed or understaffed in order to appropriately serve your patients. You also have to be able to market your practice. How do people find out about you? How do they know about you? And the inventory control. Second largest business expense in a veterinary hospital are the drugs that you use in that hospital, and you have to have good inventory systems put in place, not to mention the fact that we also sell and utilize controlled substances, which are extremely limited in their ability to be, well, I don't want to say that. They have to be controlled well. They have to be really perfect on the mark because the Drug Enforcement Agency wants to make sure you're doing that appropriately. Yeah, these are heavy-duty controlled drugs.
Now, are you limited to just North Carolina, or do you travel outside of North Carolina to help veterinary practices?
Well, my husband would tell you I spend more time away than here. I noticed the other day from U.S. Air that says you have traveled 754,000 miles in the last 5 years. So yeah, I spend a lot of time on airplanes. I have clients that range everywhere from Florida to Seattle. And I love that. I love traveling around the country. Our country is beautiful. It's absolutely amazing. And the more you travel over it, the more appreciative I think you are of that. And the difference, how different it is. And the people, I absolutely love going into these hospitals and meeting teams, because these teams are dedicated to taking good care of animals, and they want to do a great job, and they really need, they want to learn more things. So it's a fun and motivated group of people. They're not making widgets. They're caring for something they love.
So tell me about your areas of expertise.
Okay. Well, I grew up in the restaurant business. My family owned all the Huey's restaurants here in Burlington, and we're firm believers in child labor. So starting out as a child, I started learning how to take care of customers and also learning the business side of that. I don't know how many children are running P&Ls at 15, but that was part of my summer job, is to go and help our bookkeeper a little bit and do those kind of things. So I learned business from the ground up. And hospitality and customer care. I have a degree in animal science from North Carolina State. So my original goal in life was to be a veterinarian, but after 4 years of school, I went, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And so I got out and I started working in a veterinary hospital as a part-time receptionist, and then moved myself on up into hospital administration just because of that combination of animal health knowledge and the background that I had from business and hospitality. So my specialty really has a lot to do with customer service training. It has to do with developing a great team culture and helping veterinarians become leaders. So many times we have people who want to do a good job, they just don't know how. They've never learned the skill set to become leaders, and some people are naturals at it, but others struggle and they can be taught. So my purpose, my mission is to turn those owners into leaders, the teams into staff into teams, and then to create a culture of purpose that says, we are here to be champions for animal health.
So how do these clients find you?
Most of them are referrals. I have a huge network of people who I've worked with for many years. Sales representatives from pharmaceutical companies are a good resource for me. Also, I have a lot of LinkedIn connections and referrals from present clients. I'm getting a lot of referrals from present clients. And once I have clients, they have a tendency, once we finish our project, to keep touching base back and asking other things. And so a lot of my clients I've had for a long time. I also speak a lot at national and state level conferences, and I write articles for industry magazines, and I've recently finished writing a book that was published this January,
Nice.
The Veterinarian's Guide to Healthy Pet Plans. So we're getting some workshop work from the book.
This book here?
That's the book.
We'll show it.
Okay.
The Veterinarian's Guide to Healthy Pet Plans.
This is a workbook that is designed to help veterinary teams develop monthly paid wellness plans for their patients. Veterinary medicine has become increasingly more expensive, and it's just because it's become more complex.
Right.
You know, when I started working in hospitals in 1985, we had one conversation, and it mostly had to do with fleas, especially in North Carolina. When monthly paid products came on the market, our world changed, and we started talking about oral care for the pet and good nutrition and doing a lot of prevention. And so as we were doing that thing, yearly blood work to check an organ function, all those things became very expensive for people, especially when you're trying to do them in one hit. So it's so much easier, just like with your cell phone, to pay a bite at a time. But it requires some planning and some strategy and how to do the pricing and how to set up the payments. So that's what this book is all about.
Nice. Mm-hmm. So tell me about one or two of your best success stories.
Well, I have worked with some great veterinarians, and some of them just were not pricing their work appropriately. Some of them just needed some better systems in place. I worked with a hospital in Texas that was just a wonderful practice, very creative practice. Team was kind of gung-ho, and watched their business grow 25% in
Nice.
about 7 months after I started working with them. Another one just personally gave me a great thrill is I was working with a practice group in Georgia, and I had one of their competitors come to me and say, "Debbie, I refer people to you all the time." And I said, "Well, Joan, I didn't work with your hospital." She said, "I know, but you worked with these other practices that are in my area, and because of what you taught them, it raised the level of care for all the pets in our town. And now my job has become easier because people are getting the same story all over. They understand the education, they understand the level of care that we're trying to give our patients, and you have made life easier in this area." And I said, "That's the best compliment I have ever had, because that is really my goal, is to raise the level of care that animals get." And it all comes through education, through client education. I am a firm believer that people love their pets like family. They just need to know why we're asking them to do what we're asking them to pay for. And veterinarians, being animal people, are not always the best communicators. So if I can teach them how to communicate, lots of good things happen for pets.
That's got to be a very fulfilling feeling, having people give you that kind of feedback.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It just keeps you getting on airplanes and going out and doing it one more time.
Well, I know there are a lot of veterinary consultants out there, so what makes you different?
Well, there are a lot of different kinds of veterinary consultants. Many of them are CPAs, Many of them focus a lot on certain aspects of the business. Maybe they're buy-sell agreements or they're attorneys. They're looking to evaluate practices for sale. But for me, I think just the practical everyday experience that I have, I lived this for 23 years. So I'm not going to come into a practice and say, oh, you must do this, you must do this, you must do this, and then leave, just kind of drop the bomb on them and leave. I really consider myself a coach and a support person for that team. My husband says, I think you do a little therapy. And I went, well, I'm not licensed to do that, but sometimes people just need a sounding board to say, does this make sense? How did you overcome this? Here's what's happening in my practice today. And just because of all those years of actually doing it day in and day out, I encountered a lot of different things. So between the knowledge that I have from becoming a certified veterinary practice management, the everyday practical experience, the business and education that I have in animal science, kind of puts this package together that's a little unique. I managed hospitals. I managed a small animal hospital in Greensboro for 19 years that was a very high-end hospital, very successful. And then I moved to an 11-doctor practice in a rural area of the state to manage that, and learned a lot about mixed animal practice. But in the same time, we had 24-hour emergency care, so I learned how to do emergency work. We also managed the shelter for the county. The most thankless job I think I've ever had, but also very rewarding when we were managing to get the euthanasia rate way down compared to what it was when I walked in the door. I'm very proud of that. And then we also had specialists on staff, so I learned about the nuances of specialty work. So pretty much between all the areas of hospitals I have managed, I have a great understanding of everything, probably except food animal health. And I really didn't do a whole lot of herd health and stuff where I was working, but a very well-rounded background in veterinary medicine.
Well, all this traveling that you do has to be pretty tough. So what drives you in this business?
Well, I just feel like I can make a difference. I think that veterinary teams are very purpose-driven. They want to help animals. It is not a high-paying job by any stretch of the imagination. Veterinarians could actually go to medical school and walk out the door making 3 times what they make, but they don't. They're driven by the need and the love of animals. And if I can go out there and help them do what they do, then that keeps me on the road. It does. And I do see the needle moving. I see improvements. I see teams being happier. I see the animals getting better care, which is very, very important to me. I have been an animal lover my whole life. From the time I was 5 years old, I was determined I was going to be in veterinary medicine, and that goal has never changed for me.
When you do something you love, you don't work for a living.
You're absolutely right. Sometimes it's tough to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and hit that 7 o'clock flight out. But then I look at the care that is given to animals, and I look at the improvement that the teams get, and I look at the success that the hospitals have, and I say, yeah, it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it.
Great. If you'd like to learn more about Debbie and 2 Managed Vets, then please feel free to visit the link on the bottom of this webpage, and also feel free to give her a call. Debbie, thanks so much for sharing your insights on 2 Managed Vets, and we wish you the greatest success.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Piedmont Business Live. We'll see you again next time.